Good afternoon, everyone. We're going to take a few minutes just to go over the specifics of the Certified Medical Reimbursement Specialist. So this series of instructional videos will break down the certification exam. You've been going over stuff in class. You've been completing stuff on Cengage, and this particular prep instructional video series is going to go over what you need specific to the CMRS. The CMRS breaks down the test into sections, and each one of these sections is submittable, meaning that after you complete the anatomy and physiology and you feel really good about it, you can hit the submit button. It will ask you, are you sure you want to submit? Once you hit yes, it grades that section. Once the section is graded, you can no longer go back to that section. So you want to make sure that you've reviewed, you've looked at, you've double checked things as much as possible before you hit submit. Remember, you have 45 days to complete this certification exam. I do not suggest you saying, oh, I've got 45 days and you continually put it off, because what will happen is, the simple fact is, you will rush through the test and you will not pass your first go around because you rushed, not because you misunderstood the information. It was simply because you were trying to meet a deadline. So you don't want to procrastinate. You want to take these sections. So you may say, I'm going to take 2 sections today or 3 sections. I will tell you that I did take this test over 2 days. It was very mentally draining. It took me about total time period. I spent about 13 hours on the test, and it took me 13 hours because I looked everything up. I went to the study guide, I went to the internet, I used an encoder, I used the resources. So I went to make sure that I used last year's resources as well as the current edition, just to see if there was any changes. I will say the best thing is to use the current year's edition. Some people don't always have it. Everyone in this class should. That's the difference between past classes where I didn't have coders only in my class. But there is an AMBA coding encoder that you can use for a trial period of 30 days, and it is fairly easy to use. I would suggest before you start your test, you give yourself a few days of maneuvering through it just to see how it works, because it's going to be a little bit different than the book. It's not going to work as consistently as the book. Sometimes there's some intricacies with that, because every encoder is different. For those that are in the advanced medical office class, as far as doing the VLab, you do have access to the 3M encoder, and you can use that as well. Okay, so to talk about a little bit of these sections, what we have is we have the anatomy physiology, we have medical terminology, information technology, web information, ICD-10 coding. It says CPT, but it also has HCPCS coding as well. EDI transactions and clearinghouses, the claims form, the insurance carriers, acronyms and terms, compliance, managed care, fraud, abuse. We got general, such as practice management, and then case study, the application. Each one of these sections has a specific number of questions. There's on here, there's actually over 700 questions. However, when I took the exam, and when past students have taken the exam, they didn't have the specifics on here. Like information, technology, and computers, instead of 49 questions, it had 48 questions. Case studies had 16 versus 30. So you just want to keep in mind that when you open up a section, how many questions are there and what is going to get a pass-fail. Now, after it's all said and done, you're going to have a compilation score, meaning that you're going to see each score individually, which you can at any time because it's out of 100%. So if you add up the number of questions you've taken, you add up the number that you've gotten right, because you can keep a running total on each one of those. Then you divide what you got right by the number of possible questions, and that's going to give you your score up to that point. So you can keep up with that as you go through. Okay, so again, you've got your payment form specific to the CMRS. You have your point of contact, which is Debbie Smith. She can answer any questions as long as you email her. You are going to have to register with them as far as your email goes in order to get access to the test. The study guide will be sent to your email, and it's going to be an electronic version. The great thing about the electronic version is if you have two screens, if you have the ability to have two screens, you can have your study guide open on one screen and your test open on a second screen, or you can toggle between the two. It lets you do that as well, but you have hyperlinks within your study guide. So you need to take full advantage and review those hyperlinks that you have, know what you want to look at. Everything is not going to be per se the most important information, or you're going to be getting questions off of that hyperlink. It's going to be information that may help you answer questions, such as the EDI transactions and when it comes to case studies. So right now that's the breakdown. The next instructional video is going to be over anatomy and terminology, and we're going to discuss that.